Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Meng. I work at Vector as a project management intern. Today I'm going to talk about one of the projects that I work on this semester, which is the PATS project, Privacy Enhancing Techniques project. The project originally started in the summer, like many other interns in the project team and the engineering team, as well as project managers and technical staffs have already put a lot of efforts into this. So I joined the project in September, and my participation is more on the preparation and execution phase. So I believe many of other interns in the AI engineering team have already talked about the paths from a more technical point of view. For example, what implementations they have and how they implement it and like what data set they use. For my presentation today, I'll put an emphasis on the project side, like for example, what's the outcome and delivery format, and what's the use cases and benefits. So there are several types of project at Vector. There are knowledge transfer-based projects where the main objective is to increase knowledge of sponsor participants through experiential learning. And there are use case-based projects. The objective is to deliver a technical solution to an agreed common use case. And there are also research-based projects. So this is to produce a knowledge by leveraging world-class capabilities and resources from Vector and its sponsors. There are also thought leadership projects. So the objective is to articulate an expertise on AI topics that could be technical or social relevance. So so for this project, we're introducing another type of delivery format, which is the bootcamp. So the aim is to support participants in mastering real-life hands-on implementation skills under mentorship of Vector experts and getting guidance on building some working prototypes in a short period of time. So the PATS project, it's the first project that we're delivering in bootcamp format. We hosted 2 cohorts of 3 days bootcamp with 55 participants from 15 sponsors in total, and 4 PATS techniques were being covered during the bootcamp. And this bootcamp was well perceived by our sponsor participants. So I'll give you a little bit context of why do we need the privacy enhancing techniques, and also some background of it. So the background is to train a machine learning model, like all the data needs to be moved to a single machine, or failing that to a cluster of machines in the data center. This can be difficult for most of the industries where data is competitively sensitive, restricted by regulation, or subjected to privacy considerations. So the motivation of applying the PATS technique is to allow different parties or different organizations to share data without concerning data privacy issue. So the goal of our bootcamp is to explore the potential of privacy enhancing technologies and build a working prototype using PATS. So in that way, the organizations can unlock the value in sharing data without compromising on the privacy and confidentiality of the data. So why PATS are important? PATS are important due to several reasons, like for example, compliance, agility, and reputation risk. For compliance, there are data protection laws are forcing organizations to preserve consumer data. And for agility, data may need to be tested by third-party organizations due to the lack of business self-sufficiency in analytics and application testing. So PATS can enable the privacy protection while allow the data being shared. And there are also reputation risks. So privacy breaches can harm business reputation. Business or customers may want to stop interacting with the companies. And there are some use cases that we encourage the participants to explore during the bootcamp. So there is sentiment detection. So when some restaurants wants to analyze their customer reviews, not only based on data of their own, but also based on a larger data set from other restaurants as well, PATs can be applied here to enable data sharing between multiple parties. And there are also use cases in the financial or insurance services. So financial institutes are responsible for protecting the privacy of the customers due to citizens' freedom to conduct private deals and transactions with other parties. So using PATs, there is an opportunity to share data in order to reduce the privacy concerns. And also, we see some use cases in the health services as well. Yeah. So there are different type of data sharing. There are data sharing within organizations. For example, in the private, in the financial institutes, customer data are not like shared between insurance department and the private banking department. So with applying PATs, we can allow the data to be shared between the insurance department and the private banking department. And also there are some data sharing outside organization. For example, some fraud detection, some data can be used for fraud detection and insurance fraud by exchanging data with different banks. There are 4 techniques being covered in this project. So the first one is federated learning. So where the parties share the insights from the analysis of data without sharing the data itself. And there is also differential privacy, where the noise is being added to data set so that it is impossible to reverse engineer the individual inputs. And there are also homomorphic encryption, where the data is encrypted before sharing, such that it can be analyzed, but not decoded into original format, original information. And there is also the CAPC, which is the confidential and private collaborated learning, where both confidentiality and privacy can both be achieved in collaborated setting by using techniques from differential privacy literature. In this bootcamp, we also provided different type of data sets to our participants. There are text-based data set, which is the Yelp Open Review data set. This is used by some organization for sentiment detection. And we also provided the fraud detection data set as well as the home credit default risk data set. And this was used for fraud detection. And there are also mimic data set and mental health data set as well. They are being used for health services. So for the lessons that we learned in this bootcamp project, so we did encounter with some challenges because it's the first time that we are delivering the project in this bootcamp format. So some of our participants, they would like to further bring the techniques into production to apply to the challenges that they are facing within their organization. And also because we only had 3 days for each cohort to explore PATs and implement their application. So 3 days is such a short time for them to digest all the materials as well as implementing the result. And participants, some of the participants are also experiencing some technical issue. For example, they have trouble accessing the data set, the cluster, and other necessary resources at the very beginning of the bootcamp. So one suggestion was to move the onboarding session prior to the bootcamp. So when the participants join the bootcamp, they are already ready to go. So some key takeaways from this project. So by working in this PETS project, I know that PETS are some edge cutting techniques that not many companies have brought into production yet. And also because I'm from a more technical background, being able to understand the technical aspects of the project helps me to better facilitate the discussions that happen during the bootcamp. For example, I can help them to get the right sources. Some of them, for example, are looking for implementation of one specific technique, but in a different Python package. So I was able to connect them to the right person or get them the right resource. And I was, and also by understanding the code, I was able to understand what kind of obstacles the bootcamp participants are facing in order to better help them to achieve their goal in the end. So I guess that's pretty much it for my presentation today. Thank you so much for listening. Yeah, so I wonder if there's any comment or questions